Curious if this lands with you.
Go for it.
It's like 4 p.m. on a Tuesday. You've cleared your inbox. You've fired off a dozen Slack messages, each one in under 3 minutes.
Oh, I know this feeling well.
You've retweeted some hot take, liked a post, skimmed a few articles. By all the modern metrics, you are just crushing it. You're efficient. You're responsive.
You're engaged.
Exactly. But, and this is the real question, do you actually understand anything?
Ah, yes. It's the paradox of our age, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're just buzzing with data, but you're completely hollow of any real insight.
That's it. It's like running a sprint on a treadmill. You're totally exhausted, but you haven't actually gone anywhere.
Right.
Well, today we're doing a deep dive into a piece of writing that really tackles this exact anxiety. It's called The Patient Rhythm of Hindsight, and we're zeroing in on a section called What Time Reveals.
And this piece, it's so interesting because it really acts as a kind of counterweight. If the world we live in is all high-frequency trading, this text is, I don't know, a savings bond.
Huh. I like that.
It just explores that friction between the speed we live at and the depth we actually need to function as thinking human beings.
So our mission for this deep dive is pretty clear. We want to kind of dismantle this idea that now is the only thing that matters. The source argues there's this huge difference between speed and depth, and that looking back isn't about nostalgia, it's more like a survival mechanism.
It frames hindsight not as, living in the past, but as a tool for seeing the present more clearly. Without it, we're basically flying blind at 1,000 miles an hour.
Okay, let's jump right into the meat of it then. The source opens with this line that, I have to admit, felt like a personal attack on my work habits.
I'm sure a lot of us feel that way.
It says, there comes a point when reacting faster no longer feels like understanding.
And that distinction is everything between reacting and understanding. Biologically, they're completely different processes.
How so?
Well, reaction is a reflex. It's your amygdala. It's pure survival. But understanding, that's the prefrontal cortex. It's synthesis. And the text argues we've let the reflex completely hijack the synthesis.
But wait, I have to, play devil's advocate for a second here.
Please do.
In any modern workplace or just online, speed is the metric. If I take 3 days to reply to an email because I'm, quote, synthesizing.
You look slow.
I look incompetent, yes.
You look slow to the market, yes. And the source totally gets that. It lists the metrics we live by. Responses measured in minutes, judgments formed in moments.
Judgments formed in moments. That's literally the Twitter model. You see a headline, decide who's the villain, who's the hero, and you post, done.
And then it adds this third one, which is key. Certainty delivered before reflection has time to take root. Think about that phrasing. Certainty is supposed to come after you investigate something. We've completely inverted the scientific method. We start with certainty, and then, maybe, if we have time, we reflect.
It's so performative, isn't it? Because being uncertain feels weak. Being loud and fast, that feels strong.
It feels strong, but the source suggests it actually feels empty. It says, it is not that people care less, but that speed has begun to replace depth.
So it's not a moral failure.
Not at all. It's a displacement issue. It's just physics. Two objects can't occupy the same space. If all your mental space is filled with the demand for speed, depth gets evicted.
Let's put some context on that. I mean, think about communication speeds. If you're a merchant in, the 1800s, you send a letter. You have weeks before you even expect a reply.
Oh, easily. And that latency, that delay,
right.
It changed the very nature of the message. You're not going to send a letter that just says K.
Right.
You synthesize. You pack as much context and nuance into that letter as you can because the cycle time is incredibly slow.
So the medium itself forced you to be deep. And now our medium forces us to be fragmented.
Precisely. And the text argues that this fragmentation, it mimics understanding, but it's really just noise. We're confusing connectivity with comprehension.
So we're trapped. We're in this high-speed loop. How do we break it? This is where the source pivots to history. But not the kind you memorize for a test. It talks about rhythm.
Yes, history offers a different rhythm. This is where we have to zoom out.
And it contrasts seasons with centuries. Explain that a bit, because seasons feels like how we live now, fiscal quarters, election cycles.
A season is just a short-term loop. In a season, things look really volatile. Weather changes, stocks go up and down, trends appear and disappear.
Okay.
But the source says when you look at things across centuries, suddenly patterns emerge that are invisible in the present.
Give me an example of one of those invisible patterns.
Well, you can think about the Lindy effect. It's this idea that for some things, like a technology or an idea, their future life expectancy is proportional to their current age.
So if a book's been in print for 50 years,
It'll probably be in print for another 50.
oh,
But if a tweet is 5 minutes old, it's going to be forgotten in 5 minutes. The century view filters out the noise.
it's like a sieve.
Exactly.
Mm.
And the text says that over the long term, decisions that once felt necessary reveal their costs.
That's the part that really scares me. Decisions that once felt necessary. Because in the moment, the panic feels so real. We have to clear this forest, or we have to roll out this buggy software.
In the season, those decisions make perfect sense.
Hmm.
They're for short-term survival. But the century view reveals the compound interest on those bad calls.
Hmm.
And the source uses this metaphor of systems that I think is so powerful. It says, systems built for stability show where they hardened.
Hardened, that sounds like a loss of flexibility, like arthritis.
It is.
Yeah.
Think about urban planning in the 1950s. The necessary decision was to build massive highways right through cities to move cars fast.
It solved the problem of that season.
Right. It provided speed, stability. But look at it now, 70 years later.
We've got divided communities, pollution, traffic that's even worse, and this infrastructure that's impossible to maintain.
And it's rigid. You can't just move a highway. The system hardened. What looked like a brilliant solution became a cage. And you can only see that calcification when you step back.
This connects to another point the source makes about traditions. And I'll be honest, when I hear the word tradition, I kind of tune out.
I think a lot of us do.
It just sounds like peer pressure from dead people. We do it this way because we've always done it.
That's the modern urgent view, for sure, that anything old must be inefficient. But the source frames tradition totally differently. It says they often carry wisdom that urgency overlooked.
Okay, sell me on that. What kind of wisdom?
Think of a tradition as a data set. If a culture has avoided eating a certain type of berry for 500 years, it's probably not superstition.
It's because over a long enough timeline, they learned it makes you sick.
Exactly. The tradition is a compressed safety manual. So when we just discard it for speed, oh, let's just eat the berry, we have modern medicine now, we're often just unearthing problems that were solved a long, long time ago.
We think we're innovating, but we're actually just forgetting.
We're just forgetting.
Wow, that's a great segue to the next section, which was honestly the most surprising part for me. We leave human history and we start talking about the ground, the soil itself. The text says, the land remembers this better than we do.
This is where the deep dive gets very literal. We go from abstract time to physical matter.
It talks about forests and fields, places with a long human presence, and it calls them the marks of repetition.
I love that phrase, the earth as a recording device. A hard drive that, doesn't have a delete button.
And it lists the cycles the land records, cycles of care and neglect, stewardship and extraction, learning and forgetting.
Let's just unpack stewardship and extraction. Look at something like the Dust Bowl in the 1930s.
Okay, so that was a man-made ecological disaster, plowing up all the native prairie grasses.
A classic case of speed replacing depth. Wheat prices were high, that was the season, and it demanded extraction. So farmers plowed up millions of acres of this deep-rooted grass that had held the soil together for centuries.
They maximized the short term.
And then the drought came.
Yeah.
And the land revealed the cost. The soil just blew away. That is a mark of repetition. The land physically recorded that shift from stewardship to extraction. It didn't write an angry blog post, it just became a desert.
And there's this really specific nuance here that the text points out that I found chilling.
I think I know what you mean.
It says the land doesn't interpret these patterns.
It just holds them. Yes, nature is a witness, not a judge. And that is a crucial distinction.
Why is that so important?
Because judgment implies a moral framework, right? Good, bad. The land doesn't care about our morals. It cares about physics and biology. If you take out more nutrients than you put back in, the soil dies. It's not punishing you.
It's just the math playing out.
It's just the math. It's unbiased data. We're the ones who spin narratives. We say, oh, the economy required it, or we had to build that dam. We have all these justifications. The land just holds the result.
It strips away our why and just leaves the what.
Yes. And the text suggests we humans are just caught in this loop of learning and forgetting. We learn the lesson of the Dust Bowl. We practice care. Then, a couple generations pass, the urgency comes back, we forget, and we extract again.
So the land is basically a mirror showing us we're not as smart as we think. We just keep touching the hot stove.
And hoping this time, for some reason, it won't be hot.
Which brings us to the core purpose here. Why even look back if we're just stuck in these loops? Isn't that just depressing?
Right. And the source anticipates that. It says very clearly, looking back is not an act of nostalgia.
And thank goodness for that, because nostalgia is such a dangerous drug.
It is. Nostalgia is looking at the past and saying, wasn't it all so beautiful? It just glosses over all the disease and the violence.
It's basically an Instagram filter on history.
Exactly. And the source says that is not the goal. The goal of hindsight is simply a way of seeing more clearly. It's diagnostic.
It says the point is to slow the pace enough to notice. But notice what?
Context. When you're speeding down the highway at 90 miles an hour, you get tunnel vision. You literally can't see your periphery. Slowing down expands your field of view. Hindsight lets you see the side roads, the oncoming traffic, the storm clouds on the horizon.
The text also says the goal isn't to argue with the present or prescribe solutions, and that feels counterintuitive.
It does.
Usually if I read something like this, I want the 5 steps to fix your life.
But that demand for 5 steps is part of the speed trap itself. We want the quick fix.
Yeah.
The source is suggesting something much more humble.
It is.
To simply observe what has unfolded before and identify what usually follows when similar choices are made again.
What usually follows, so it's pattern recognition.
Let's go back to the traffic analogy. If you're constantly just reacting to car crashes, you're a hero. You're busy, you're fast, you're dragging people from the wreckage. But hindsight is the civil engineer who looks at the intersection and says, every time we bank the road at this angle, people die.
One is reacting, the other is understanding.
And you can't redesign the intersection while you're driving through it at 90 miles per hour.
Yeah.
You have to stop. You have to look at the skid marks, the marks of repetition.
That requires patience. And the source ends with this personification of time that I really liked. It says, time, when given room, is a patient teacher.
The key phrase there is, when given room. Time is always passing. But are we actually giving it any room?
So what does giving it room look like? I mean, practically, I can't just quit my job and go live in a cabin and contemplate history.
It doesn't mean opting out. It just means building latency into your life. It means not sending that angry email immediately.
Right.
It means looking at a new corporate strategy and asking, hang on, has this been tried before? What happened 10 years ago when we did this? It means valuing the archives as much as you value the newsfeed.
It's about respecting the lag time.
It's respecting the fact that truth is almost never instant. It's a slow, accumulating sediment. And if you only ever look at the surface, you're going to miss the bedrock every time.
I think that's the big takeaway for anyone listening who feels overwhelmed. You don't have to be faster to be smarter. In fact, trying to be faster might actually be making you stupider.
Speed is a fantastic tool, but it's a terrible master. And if you let speed dictate your understanding, you're going to live a life of just constant reaction.
We've covered a lot of ground here, from inbox anxiety to soil erosion in the 1930s. We've talked about how systems harden and how the land keeps score, even when we try to forget.
We've tried to move from the frantic now to the more patient long term.
And usually, this is where we'd wrap up with a nice, tidy bow. But given the source material, I kind of want to leave our listener with something a bit more uncomfortable.
A question for the long haul.
So we've established that the land records our behavior. It holds the marks of our repetition. And we've established that our current era is defined by speed replacing depth.
So the equation is pretty simple.
If the land is recording us right now, and our primary output is just this high-speed, low-depth reaction, what are the marks we're leaving today?
When this season of the 21st century is finally over, and the century view takes hold, what will the physical evidence of our hurry actually be?
Is it going to be landfills of disposable tech? Cities designed for delivery drones instead of people? A mental health crisis that's recorded in our very biology?
What are the scars of speed that we are moving too fast to see right now, but that the future will find impossible to ignore?
That's not a question you can answer in a minute, so take your time with it.
Give it room.
Thanks for listening to this deep dive. We'll see you next time.